Hey all, this is Crushendo. This is a channel where I speak about anything I like, from manga to fashion. So yeah, this video will be going over Kaiju No.8's latest chapter, number 32. There's going to be some recap, analysis, expectations, and kind of my ideas of what's going to be happening in the next couple of chapters, and why I think especially this chapter is one of the tipping points in the story. So yeah, we're going to just get right into it. As a reminder, this video will contain spoilers from the story and manga, so if you have not read the chapter, go read it if you can. Okay, so we're going to get right into the recap. So the story starts off with, I'm going to pronounce this incorrectly, but Hoshina's flashbacks and kind of his disbelief that Kafka is Kaiju No.8. They've had really funny conversations and kind of these touching moments where they kind of really see each other as peers and even equals. Hoshina was the one that promoted Kafka into the Defense Corps. I think it really came to him as a surprise that Kafka is Kaiju No.8. But I do think that Hoshina had some inkling that something was off about Kafka. That's why he had him on a leash in the first place anyway. And now that the secret is out, I think there's going to be more into some of Hoshina's kind of other intentions later on. And outside of Hoshina, the rest of the team is shocked that Kafka is Kaiju No.8, and they're like, what do we even do? But Kafka is not wasting any time, and he literally runs and kind of starts towards the Kaiju bomb. And Reno, of course, kind of shouts at Kafka, asking him, "Sir, do you know what you're doing?" Because it's like after he saves everyone, do you know that they may kill you? And, that's not on Kafka's mind. He wants to save everyone that he cares about. And from there, Kafka, which I'll get into later in the analysis part of the video, he charges himself up, or I think that he charges himself up, holding his fist and planting himself in the ground before he shoots off into the air and punches the kaiju, which then from the impact of his punch explodes. And then from there, Kafka lands back on his feet, with a beautiful spread of the explosion. He's just standing tall over everyone, really showing his kaiju form. And I, again, will go into the idea of what I think is an element of charging. But you can kind of see it in the artwork where some sparks are flying off of him and etc. And also, just to point out, with the slide of him standing tall over everyone as the explosion is behind him, is literally beautiful. You can feel the impact through the line work, and just like this scene is just, I think, was thought out really well. I think the whole chapter is just amazing, just to say, outside of the art, even though the art is important. And yeah, every detail is beautiful. Outside of this being one of my favorite panels of the whole chapter, the next page also has one of my favorite panels, which is the Mina and Kafka kind of face off. And yeah, you kind of begin to see the internal struggle from Mina. And really in the story we don't see much from Mina. A lot is kept hidden. We get a smile here and there, but nothing really outside of that. I think we see a lot more emotion on her now. And essentially, she states that, is this Kafka? But actually, no, she then refers, to Kafka as Kaiju No.8, which, I don't think she sees him as even human at this point. So you have Kafka standing tall, surrounded by everyone with their guns drawn. He cannot move simply because due to his punch, he messed up his body. And he's staring at Mina with this defeated look, even though the secret is out, and that must have lifted something off of him. His face is just done. He is very blank and expressionless, really different than the Kafka that we know. The chapter ends with Mina saying that she is arresting Kaiju No.8. Kafka is not even on the table. It's Kaiju No.8. He's not human. And with the analysis section going into there's going to be the debate of, is Kafka human? Is he kaiju? Is that important or not? I think Hoshina will have a really good stake in that, mainly because earlier when I was talking about how he has his mind trying to connect the puzzles, and I do think he's going to be really curious about Kafka's powers and kind of how it ties into the other humanoid kaijus. And he has been taking notice to a lot of the kaiju attacks, which has been more frequent and more dangerous. I believe Hoshina is a very detail-oriented person. He really pays attention. You can see that earlier in the story where he notices Kafka being able to understands that Kafka has a lot of knowledge about kaijus, which is, a good and bad thing, because people can say that he's working with the humanoid kaijus, he cannot be trusted, but also it could be that he's one of their greatest assets. He's one of the most people who have been in contact with kaijus and be able to, tell the story one versus the other, and this mystery of why they're always fighting kaijus, and maybe there could be a chance to end it. So I think he's really going to shoot for the long game and kind of do something unexpected, which is, in his character to do something unexpected all the time. And then of course next to that we have Reno, which I think will have one of the biggest stakes for Kafka being seen as human and now really having the worst consequence happening to him ever. And with Reno, I do think too he's going to be hurt in this, because Kafka did promise Reno he wouldn't reveal his powers, but of course he did do that because the story. And I don't think Reno will be hurt for long, but he'll have to recognize that he cannot control what happens to his friends, and also how can he become stronger or equip himself better to protect the people that he cares about, both in the bureaucratic human world and also in the kaiju world. And we've seen him train really hard so he can fight with Kikoro to protect people. But I think he's also going to have to train himself more to be able to, not fight kaijus, but kind of fight, people's beliefs and ideologies. I think he's going to have a lot to play in later chapters. He's going to be an essential role in defending Kafka's humanity, because he was there. He's like OG. He was there when Kafka became a kaiju. So you can kind of also guide to how some of this is connected to. And I think that's also my prediction. And, I may be wrong. Going to the main source, Kafka, Reno's friend, and they've been through this all together. Has a lot on him at this moment, just everything just being played out on him, and he's just, not the same smiley Kafka that we're used to. And I want to point back to the idea of charging himself up to punch the kaiju. I think energy plays a lot in this story. The Defense Kaiju Corp, their suits essentially read their energy source, and being able to use that to fight kaijus, and also having technology to read kaijus' powers, but we don't really know the source of their powers or where it comes from, and how that power itself is probably a reason why they fight humans. It doesn't necessarily seem that they eat humans to gain energy. I do think that we may have gotten some idea of how the kaiju powers work, and now we're going to go back to Mina, and essentially I think she also will play a kind of big role in terms of Kafka's kind of consequence and also or defense. I wonder if we're going to get a Mina flashback, not just with Kafka, but through her point of view, because she's been in the Defense Corp for so long. We don't know how many people she lost or her struggles in the Defense Corp as well. I think the judgment and also punishment and, what happens next is really going to be interesting. I think some of the plot and pace is going to slow down a bit mainly because we're going to go to a different Defense Corp station, mainly because the one they're at is annihilated. It's just gone. I do think we will see some new characters being introduced to more plot elements, maybe even, hints towards what the antagonists are doing, where and what they're looking for, and also how the Defense Corp really works outside of the small fraction that we get to see. Maybe there are people stronger than Mina. We don't know. Especially keep bringing it up, the bureaucracy of the Defense Corp. How do they work? What are some of the more laws and more science behind what they're doing? I think that mystery, will be unveiled in the next couple of chapters as we get to see more of the Kaiju number 8 world. And that really excites me because I think the world building is being done, amazingly. That's not a word, but it's being done great. And I can't wait to see how else it opens up and what's that's going to do to other characters and how they are going to have to grow. And, how I believe, even though some of the plot and pace may slow down, I think there's going to be a not huge, but some tone shift, which is why I believe this chapter is just going to be one of the tipping points for Kaiju number 8. The tone is going to shift as the stakes become grander and our characters are going to be faced with more harder decisions of what to do and what they're going to be faced with. I think after this, some chapters down the line, they'll be able to grow their connections to be a stronger team of people, because I think they're going to need it for whatever the large antagonist or like the large part of this story is going to have. And I think it really comes down to Kafka and Mina, which of course they started out in the story setting them up. I think reach up to this point with these two characters really meeting at this tension point. And even outside of these two characters, how other side characters are really being able to have some spotlight and making us care about them. And how now when we do focus on the Mina and Kafka situations, there's just other people that have to be involved. I think Mina, we're going to see more internal struggles and kind of like more open of her emotions of how she is reacting in this moment. I do think she may be the one assigned to Kafka and, ordered to kill him if he disobeys, the laws of humanity or something. I want to say that this chapter has been a large tipping point in some of our characters' hopes and also their literal lives, and also some of the plot and how, a lot of it is kind of being centered around Kafka at the moment and what his character growth is going to be. And I think, again, going back to the tone shift, I think there's just going to be something a lot darker happening. And, I'm glad none of the characters have died yet. I'm very hopeful, but, it does seem that there's going to be a lot of hardships soon to come. And especially one of my biggest hopes for the next chapter is the big conversation between Mina and Kafka. I want to see what happens. I think it's really going to be emotional, and I'm going to be very emotional in it, but we will see. And yeah, if you have any comments, put your thoughts below about how you think the world building is going to expand or what's going to have to happen to Kafka. And yeah, I'll be doing a lot more videos on Kaiju number 8, especially this upcoming month. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, or even follow me and turn on the little bell notification. So yeah, stick around, subscribe, and until next time, peace out. Have a good day.